Hello, and welcome to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. I'm Isla Garcia, master's degree of nutrition science and registered dietitian, and I'm going to make weight loss realistic, sustainable, and uncomplicated for your busy lifestyle. On this podcast, me and my team of registered dietitians will decipher the latest nutrition research, dissect fad diets, and discuss social media trends for you so you can feel confident knowing what to eat to achieve your health goals. Research suggests that most weight loss programs aren't successful, but my experience has taught me that this is not because the participants aren't committed. It's because those diets are designed by non-nutrition professionals and center around severe restrictions. We are here to provide the facts about the science of weight loss so you can have the success you want and continue living your best life. Welcome back to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. Isla here, your founder, CEO, and host of this wonderful podcast. Thank you for coming back and listening today. I'm excited to bring on a wonderful guest, Meagan, who I've actually known for such a long time and was a previous client that actually renewed. And so we were able to go through the first 3 months together, and we'll kind of dive into that. And then she was able to come back after some time off, and we worked on a whole other set of skills that we didn't work on the first time. So thank you so much for joining us today, Meagan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive into your story, and then we'll go over like what you were successful with, and then maybe some things that people can walk away who are trying to lose weight. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where do you live? Who do you live with? Like, do you have a family? And like, maybe like, what do you do for fun on your time off?
Yes. So I currently live in Lexington, North Carolina, but I'm a travel nurse. So it's always up in the air where I'm going to be in a few months. It's definitely fun. I love exploring through that. But I would say I definitely get all of my adrenaline done at work. So my hobbies are usually more relaxing. I like to read, love to go hiking and walking. So it's really been great to travel to different areas and to be able to really experience different trails, different people, just a whole different environment.
And so hiking, you said you like to do. Did you like to do that before? Did you did you learn to love it as we kind of worked in exercise? Just like curious.
I definitely liked it before, but it was very sporadic. It was never consistent, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And being a ICU nurse, I was actually surprised. I think you're my first ICU nurse because I was surprised that you didn't actually get as much activity in as I would think. But I guess it makes sense because you said you were just like with one person all day long, right? Basically, like you weren't like walking all over the unit.
I could be, yeah. So we normally have two patients, but when you're in ICU, the patient is so critical. You're usually standing over the bed. The only time you're walking is to really get supplies or medications. And then you're right back at their side, just looking at the monitor, looking at the patient, titrating meds. Yeah. So
Yeah.
not a lot of exercise there.
Well, tell us kind of like your weight story. So what did you struggle with? Do you think like before you were working, or like even like how you kind of got to the weight that you were when you first started working with me?
I would definitely say I've struggled with weight my whole life. My whole life. Yeah. So I would just say it was a lot of overeating, emotional overeating growing up. In high school, I really started kind of a diet fad. It started out, okay, healthy, but definitely quickly went to, okay, so you've hit a plateau. So what are we going to do to get over this plateau? And their way to do it was to really cut out carbohydrates. And so I did that, and I lost a few pounds while being 16 and losing that and saying, so this is the secret, right? So immediately started cutting out all carbohydrates, not healthy at all. I lost a lot of weight, but the moment from restricting myself, literally the moment I started eating those carbs, I gained all that weight back and so much more. So being overweight has never been very healthy for me.
I feel like I hear you saying that you like you tried to lose weight before, but you felt like you didn't do it in a healthy way. And then like while you were at a higher weight, like you still weren't like living a healthy lifestyle is what you're saying. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then so like what did you think you needed to achieve? Like what did you need to do to lose weight before, do you think? Like did you think weight loss need to be before working with me?
I really felt like weight loss was, I'm going to have to restrict myself. Like 100%, I will never be able to eat chocolate again. I will never be able to eat pasta. I'm going to have to say, okay, this is out of my life. This is how it's going to be from now on. And I always thought of myself, I'm not strong enough to do that. I don't want to say goodbye to the one thing that makes me feel good after a really stressful day.
Right. Yeah. And we know like with your job, especially working in the ICU and especially like during the time that you did with like the beginning of COVID, everything, like having those, like all those emotions going through the whole day, and anybody who works in healthcare really, but especially in the ICU, I know like getting off after that, like long day, that's not realistic for you to like always take out like the joy of eating. And so I'm excited to kind of like talk about in a minute how we were able to work that in. But why don't you think your efforts worked for you before for the long term, like with the low carb? Like, why don't you think that was able to stick?
Really, it's just not sustainable. Honestly, it doesn't matter what it is in life. Telling yourself no constantly, it's never going to get you the results. And if you get those results, you're not going to be happy.
Mhm.
And you want to be happy. You want to say, okay, like I can do this. This makes me happy in this moment, and it's going to make me happy next week in a year.
You're saying like you wanted to find something that was like going to help you stay with it more for the long term. And I know for you, you were really focused on health too. And we know that like cutting out food groups aren't necessarily healthy.
At all. No.
Why did you kind of like bringing it to the point of when you signed on? Like, what really prompted you to like want to become a client of mine?
I know we have talked about this in a previous session, how you're both kind of like, because we have a history, we know each other from a really,
Yeah.
but I'll be honest, I followed your page for over a year. And the whole time I would see your stuff, I'd read it, I liked it. And it got to a point where I'm going to bring my weight into this, is where I hit 304 on the scale. And
Mhm.
I looked at it and I was like, Megan, this isn't you. This isn't who you want to be.
Mhm.
You don't feel good. Like that was a huge thing for me, is, numbers, they're important, but I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I felt at that time. And
Mhm.
I was like, do it, go for it. All of your information, that you posted on Instagram, I could tell it was research, that it was education for people. And that really drew me in constantly. And I was like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to join and see what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Megan and I go back, I mean, ever since like elementary school, right? Yeah, because you went to, the same elementary school and
Yep.
everything. So I was excited to reach out. I mean, I was excited that you reached out and kind of contacted me with everything. But I feel like I hear you saying that you just like really, it sounds like we're maybe like tired of doing it on your own and also wanted to learn how to do it in a healthy way. Because you had been able to lose weight before, but not in that healthy way. And it seemed like you were missing that, like how to have balance while losing weight. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Good, good. Okay. What about like bringing it to the when we started together? If you can even remember this far back, since you're special and renewed twice, or renewed once, but we worked together twice. Was anything like surprising from the beginning? Maybe like the get go, like looking at the calories or anything like that? Or was it like exactly what you thought?
No, not at all. I'll be honest. Like Isla, when I started your program, I was fully ready to restrict again. Like
No.
even looking at your stuff on Instagram, but I just don't think it could be for me. But I have to try it. Yeah, and you 100% surprised me. Even after like my first week of tracking, I remember we're face to face talking on Zoom, and like you broke down this breakfast, and it was like fried chicken and eggs and gravy, and this is a breakfast it was very constant for me. And to me, it kind of set me up for the rest of the day of, well, I've ate this way, obviously the rest of the day, how's that going to go? Why am I going to
Mhm.
worry about it if I'm already eating this bad in the morning? And at that point you broke down, you said, okay, you're meeting your protein goal for breakfast, and the gravy, we can consider that carbs for that meal. And I was like, wait a minute, like I'm not being shamed. Is this real? Because I was so embarrassed to give you that first week of tracking. I really was, because I was like, this is me, this is how I eat. And you turn it into such a positivity, and really hearing like that's the nutrition that's going, in my body, like that's providing something for me.
Mhm.
It really set a whole mindset. And like going a little further is just after the first month of being with you and being able to lose weight, like I had already lost a few pounds by that point. I was like, wait a minute. If anything, Isla has, I've added food, because you sit there and you say, okay, so where can you add this vegetable? Where can you add this fruit? It's not taking away. You have never told me stop eating this. And that's huge for me. I've never heard that before. Stop eating this, and just being so fulfilled. It it was amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I feel like I don't even remember that part, what you said. I'm glad it stuck with you. Cause yeah, like, I think so many people, they focus so much on what they should take away and not what they should just add in, and not recognizing that like every food really has value. Everything's going to give you calories, which is going to help. And we do need calories at a baseline. And it doesn't really matter what we put in there. It's just like when, we're thinking about weight loss, we do need to think about like how we're optimizing those calories. So I'm glad that you realized that from the beginning. And I know with you too, something we did have to work on, which we can get into, is on link or off days, which I see a lot with healthcare workers. So we should definitely talk more about it, but like just like totally decompressing, which a lot of times it means like not eating a lot. And then all of a sudden at the end of the day, like eating a ton, or like just comfort foods and things like that is something we really worked on, like getting you to eat more, I think, on those off days. Do you feel like you're tired of trying every new diet out there whenever you're ready to lose weight, but you never really find long-term success because it's either too restrictive or just not conducive to your lifestyle? Well, then let me tell you about our 3-month lifestyle reset program. This is an individualized weight loss approach where you'll be going through our proven 6-step method, and you'll be led by a registered dietitian. By becoming a client of the program, you'll be able to learn how to control your weight, increase your energy and confidence, and also improve your overall well-being. Not to be dramatic, but a lot of clients tell us that they actually change their lives by going through the program and finally find a sustainable weight loss solution when they actually haven't found that with any other program. If you are interested in becoming a client, sign up for a discovery call on our website, themillennialnutritionist.com, with me, Isla Garcia, and I'll help match you with one of our registered dietitian coaches based off of your challenges and their nutrition expertise. If you're ready to find a sustainable weight loss solution in a non-judgmental and encouraging environment, I hope you'll connect with us soon. What about the tracking? So some people are always like, or some people are hesitant when it comes to tracking. Like how was that in the beginning, like getting adjusted to it? Can you kind of speak to your experience, maybe about like what the tracking did for you?
It was something new to me because early in the program, you say, weigh stuff, look at the measurement size. I think at that point, I didn't realize I'm going to do this so much. It's going to be so natural to me. I'm going to know what a piece of chicken looks like, and I'm going to have an idea of what that is. Or I'm going to know, what a cup of rice is, and the calories associated with that. But overall, I would definitely say it was a little challenging to begin with, just to, put the correct measurements in to get the correct calories. But it's so important because you actually see what's going in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing my calories like for the first few weeks, and having those numbers that you gave me in the beginning, I was like, this makes sense. It makes sense why I'm here and why I need help with this.
I feel like I want everybody to know too, you're really tall. Like how tall are you?
I'm almost 6 foot. I'm 5'11" and a half.
Yeah, exactly. And so your calories were like super high. And so I think a lot of what we did too in the beginning, I mean, what were we saying that you needed to eat, like 2,300 or more than that even?
300 to 2,500.
Yeah. And so a lot of it was like, yeah, getting you to eat more on those days. And you eventually, when we really worked towards getting you to eat more, so you wouldn't overeat on your other days, and you were able to lose weight eating like that many calories per day, which was great. But I'm glad to know. So it sounds like the tracking helped you to it sounds like look at things and make you a little bit more aware of what you're eating. Is that right?
Yes.
Because even I remember like coming back around the second time you worked with me, we worked on, you had gained a little bit of weight from leaving, and then like had some transitions through life and everything, and then came back and we realized that you were having this like really high calorie coffee, right? That we realized from tracking.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell a little bit? Yeah. Can you tell a little bit about that? Because I think that's really helpful to understand why we track, to notice something like that.
So I bought a Breville.
Uh-huh.
And I was so excited about this espresso machine, right? And so immediately I'm like, okay, Starbucks, favorite coffee, bought the stuff for the coffee. And like, I could see all the sugar going in this coffee, I don't know if I think it was subconsciously saying, I'm not going to think about this.
Okay.
And, but when I went back with you, and I mentioned that in the first thing, I'm like, Isla, I don't know, it could be this coffee. I literally added it up. It was 500 calories. I think it was over 500 calories. Well, 500 calories for a whole week, that's 3,500. No wonder I'm gaining a pound a week. before I'm coming back to Isla. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that we were able to identify just from tracking from the beginning that I think can be really helpful for people because it's hard to believe that you can really shove that many calories into coffee because it doesn't sound like you can. What do you feel like tracking helped you learn? Like if you can talk about like 1 to 2 things, like tangible things that it like helped you identify or helped you to eat more of or less of or anything like that.
Once you start putting those vegetables in, you're like, wait a minute. I'm eating 5 to 6 servings of vegetables, and this is the calories. Are you kidding? It's so great to see that. And I know like for a little part, I was eating like less calories than you recommended, but I'm like, I'm eating like I promise you, I'm eating so much more than I was before, and I'm full. I'm satisfied. I don't want to eat anymore. But it was really because like I could see it on the tracking, but I felt so satisfied after eating those meals. I saw lower calories, but I was eating, I felt so great with it. It really helped whenever I would put in like the desserts I would eat, right? And I would see how many calories were in those desserts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see on that same page all these fruits and vegetables I've ate and fruits that have the sweetness,
Mm-hmm.
the one thing I was craving. And I was like, okay, so like why am I eating all this chocolate when I'm totally satisfied with fruits? Why am I going to add 500 calories for, you know, this dessert, this honey bun or whatever I would eat at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I hear you saying that like it helped you to understand like what you even really wanted to eat because it's not like you can't eat desserts, but when you realize like you didn't really like that as much, like for the calories it was versus like this produce that you really did like maybe even just as much, and so it helped you to make those lower calorie choices. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. You had PCOS, correct? Right? Because you had like,
Yes.
you were so easy with weight loss. I like remember we never really had to address it, but that's something that can really happen with people who have PCOS that they can have these increased sugar cravings because of the way that like insulin can be kind of dysfunctioning in your body. And so for you, I think that was helpful to kind of be like, if you're craving sweets, like you can eat some fruit if that, helps it. And then looking at the calories kind of, I think helped you make those decisions as well, which overall helped you to eat less calories. What about like your experience of working with like a one-to-one coach? Because that can be a little different too compared to other things, other programs that are out there. Was there anything that you felt like I was able to help you with specifically compared to like maybe trying this on your own without a one-to-one approach?
I can say this as a person who's taken like 3 or 4 nutrition classes, right? Like, okay, I should know the basics. And I think everyone kind of has this general idea of like what their nutrition should be. But being with a one-on-one coach, it's like you're personalizing nutrition to me. You're not telling me this has to go out of your diet. If anything, you're saying, well, what about this instead of this? But it's still kind of like you mentioned like chocolate covered bananas,
Mhm.
instead of like a chocolate bar or something, like you're still getting that satisfaction. So
Mhm.
there were so many ways that you were able to personalize it to me. It made it so worth it. And to be able to sit with you every week and go through my diary and see, and you're kind of like a teacher, right? So I come to you when I'm happy and I'm like, guess what I did? And then I come dragging my feet and I'm like, guess what I did. But
Yeah.
it's so great having someone to be able to talk to. And for me, especially in the beginning, it was accountability at first, and then it was. I know later on we talked about how I was just keeping it in the forefront of my brain, but
Mhm.
you know, there's so many things in life we go to for help. Why wouldn't nutrition be another one? And why wouldn't you want somebody who's fully educated and knows exactly how to help you with that?
Right. That's great. That's great. So it sounds like you're saying it helped you to make sure that like almost like every need was met or that we were able to personalize the information for you. Because we do have a standard 6-step approach, but within those steps, like for example, with the fruits and vegetables, we really work towards, I remember like getting you to even just do HelloFresh, which I feel like fixed it. But with that simple recommendation just from the start, that helped you to make it so easier as opposed to maybe struggling on your own. Do you feel like that's what you're saying?
Oh yes, that was huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what about your life transition? So the first time we worked together, you were going through getting married, which is so hectic for clients when they do that. How was going through that? Because I think some people think that, they should start to lose weight or they should want to lose weight when they don't have anything going on, which just like totally isn't realistic. But can you talk about like trying to lose weight during that period of your life and like how you navigated it?
marriage was a thing, and also travel nursing. I was starting that. So
Oh yeah.
it was a lot of stress on one time in life, right? But honestly, I think because by the time that my wedding was like getting closer and closer, I was doing your program. And
Mhm.
honestly, before your program, it would have been like 100% restricting myself from like anything and being like, this is normal. This is what women do before their wedding, Uh, and through your program, I was like, okay, like I know I can do this. Like as long as I'm, hitting my fruits and vegetables, I'm getting my protein, I am exercising. I was like, I'm gonna be okay. And honestly, like there's so many benefits to it because like nutrition, I felt so great, right? And then adding in that exercise, that walking, and even trying the strength training, which I know I wasn't like perfect at that time, but even adding that in, like that in itself is a stress reliever.
Okay.
Uh, and I definitely think it made the process of the wedding a lot easier, honestly. I was focusing on myself and getting better. So
Mhm.
I wasn't constantly overeating because I know it was like right before I got married. That's when I ended the first program with you. And then I
Mhm.
started like months after.
So you're saying that by even like learning how to eat for yourself and for your health, it helps you to even like feel better and reduce the stress compared to like trying to be restrictive, which probably would have caused you more stress. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What is your advice to somebody who might be going through like all of the craziness? We could even just start with your wedding. Like if somebody is like trying to lose weight and they think that it's like impossible because they feel so busy, what is something that you would like recommend to them that you did?
I knew my health had to stay a priority at that time, but there were even recommendations you gave me, which going out to eat, because we're constantly in the car, we're constantly going somewhere.
Mhm.
Was I know Chick-fil-A, I found one of their salads and love that. Still
Uh-huh.
do it on the road because I'm on the road so much. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm getting all my vegetables, I'm getting my protein, I'm good for this meal. I definitely think planning ahead really works well whenever you have a ton of stuff going on.
Mhm.
Um, Meal prepping works. And I'm not saying like meal prepping for like the whole week on one day. I
Right.
tried that. It did not work.
Uh-huh.
But doing, like you mentioned, HelloFresh, where you have this meal delivered, which I'm one of those people, I would not have done that before you, Isla. And it was difficult to say, okay, I'm going to try it, because
Mhm.
you're putting that money out there before you even get the meal.
Right.
But then it arrives and the meals are good and they meet all, everything I needed that you
Mhm.
were telling me in the program. So yeah, definitely making it a priority and planning. I think planning is a huge thing when a lot is going on in your life, and your nutrition should be that priority in it.
Good, good. Yeah. Cause I think a lot of people see things so black and white. Cause I'll get a lot of beginner clients who are like, there's no way, like, I need to make all these meals like from scratch for my whole family, or like I'm a failure if I don't. And like when we really think through, understand nutrition and know, okay, we just got to identify those 2 servings of produce and a serving of protein at your meal. And if you can make that work at Chick-fil-A, if you can make it work through HelloFresh and then have leftovers the next day, you don't have to think about it anymore. And so I feel like I hear you saying that, which is awesome. Would you say like the same thing as a traveling nurse? Because we do sometimes get traveling nurse clients. What is your recommendations for that? Maybe even like moving, because moving can be so hard for people.
Yes, moving is so hard, and I'm doing it 2 months after I just moved in somewhere.
Ah,
Exactly what you said before, being realistic, saying like I'm going to be on the road. I don't have a freezer with me. I don't have a fridge with me.
mhm,
Um, Kind of like once you decide, because you can get on Waze while you're driving. You can say, okay, so Chick-fil-A is coming up. What am I gonna get? What really helps me is already knowing what I'm gonna get before I get there. Because once
mhm.
I get there, I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, okay, so what do I want? Rather than saying, like you said, I'm going to get my produce from this. I'm going to get my protein from this. I'm going to get my carbs from this source.
Mhm.
Uh, it's super helpful whenever I'm moving or planning. And I think like for any other travel nurses, having your basics. I have an air fryer, one of the ninjas that's an air fryer, and
Uh-huh.
what else is it? An Instapot that's in
Mhm.
one. And I know I was gonna have to say it at least once in this session was smoothies.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Oh, yeah,
go
your
down there
smoothies?
and get your smoothies, do DoorDash, get everything delivered to you, while you're getting the place set up.
Mm.
Just kind of go ahead and be ready for it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I never asked you this, would you eat your smoothies like you would wake up and eat it before your work days, or would you eat it, drink it on the way to work, or how would that work? Because as a nurse, you work super long hours, which is just a challenge.
So smoothies, I honestly feel like they've been my cheat through with your whole program. And I say cheat positively.
Uh-huh.
Um, I fit 2 servings of produce in that. I fit 2 servings of fruit in that. I get my protein. And then I add just a little sweetness with honey. And it's so great to be able to make that. And like, sure, if I have a few minutes extra at home, I can sit there and sip on it. But most days, what I do is I take it with me. And while I'm getting a report, honestly, I'm like leaned over like this, getting report, writing down on my patient and drinking my smoothie before work. Yeah,
Awesome. Okay. So again, just like making it realistic for your lifestyle is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Can you explain to everybody what do you feel like the difference was between the second round and what we worked on versus the first round?
The first round, I felt like I really learned the basics. One thing I felt like after the first part was, okay, I need to get my steps in. And it was a priority, and then it wasn't a priority. You know what I mean? So I would say like the 2 months in between, I was like, okay, I need to get my fruit and my veggies. I need to get my protein. And I would say like I stayed strong with that. And then
Mhm.
it was like we went on a honeymoon, we went different places, and I just started getting back kind of into my older habits. And because I thought I was like, Megan, you've spent 28 years overeating and restricting yourself. Like it is absolutely okay to go back for a second session with Isla. Like there's definitely things you need to work on. And the second session, I felt like, we quickly said, okay, so here's your fruits and veggies, here's the nutrition part. And I knew I wanted to work on my plate more because like that's one of my favorite things about your program is okay, I'm going to start off tracking, right? And then I'm going to start off really talking about my meals in depth. But the ultimate goal is I'm going to be able to do this naturally, and so it's just going to come to me. And I realized I was like, I want to go back. I want to get more information. I want to see where I'm going wrong in my diet because obviously I started gaining weight, which I think pretty much in like right when I started that next session with you, it was like the coffee. Okay, so I'm getting this many extra calories a week. And then it was, okay, so probably adding, those all that sugar is making you crave more sugar. So I think that was a huge downer for me, but I was also able to really focus on getting my steps in and starting strength training, which was huge for me. I was so ecstatic whenever I like got my first 10,000 steps with you.
Yes, yes. And I think that just shows that like the reason that I like working with millennials or we kind of pick this age group is because people are going through so many life transitions. And like just because you have health figured out at one point doesn't mean that you're gonna have it figured out forever. And like you went through a life transition, you got married and now you're creating this new life with somebody else who is gonna have their own food preferences. And 3 months really isn't enough time to unravel everything that life has for nutrition. When you've had what, like 25 plus years to build up everything we just package it in 3 months because I figure that's all clients will commit in the beginning and can financially afford. And I try to be respectful of that. But we really did tackle like a whole other set of issues the second time with working on the strength training, which we kind of do at the end of the first round. Because I want to make sure nutrition is in check first. And then really making sure we do my plate. Because for you, we like really quickly got off tracking, I think, the second round, right?
You really
Um,
did.
and you were able to just more so intuitively eat or just at least like look at your meals through that. Can you kind of explain what that looked like? Like, how did you navigate continuing to lose weight without tracking? Because I think some people do get afraid that they're going to have to track forever.
I definitely think HelloFresh is one thing that really helps me
Mhm.
is I know whenever I'm planning my meals, I'm like, okay, this has it has what I need, right? It has those portions and like, the protein, the fruits, the veggies, it has everything I need in that meal. Another thing I think is really big is as you continue, through your program by, I would say the second month, you're seeing what your meals are going to consistently look like. There's going to be different foods, different forms, but this is what they're going to look like. And
Mhm.
so I think it's pretty easy. I know, like I was so ready to get on my plate because I was like, I see it, I see it. So it really went from, okay, this is what my plate's going to look like to now, and kind of towards the end of your program, it was, all right, so that's 4 or 5. So yep, had them for the day, had all my veggies and my fruits. And I know I'm always going to eat protein at meals. So I have that covered. It's a very easy transition going through your program. I think you provide like such good steps to go through, visual steps with the tracking. And then with my plate, you're seeing it. And then it's like, as long as your meals, after your program are following kind of the same thought process, you're seeing kind of the same things, like you're going to have success in that.
So you're saying that once you establish that kind of pattern of what worked for you, like the formula of what you needed to eat throughout the day through tracking, we had the data to back that up. You just had to continue that without tracking that same pattern to have success. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Now moving into the like the specific steps of the program, let's maybe do just like a brief rundown of like how you achieve them and really give tons of like free tips away for people. So let's go through, first the calorie deficit. Like what did you do to stay within your calorie deficit range?
As long as I'm following pretty much what you taught me, like I know I'm not going to be out of my calorie deficit range. I know that if I add something new to my diet and I stop seeing, the results I've seen, or I stop feeling as good, or I start having cravings, I have to revert back. And I'm like, okay, so let's be a little more conscious. Let's say, are you hitting your goals, Megan? Are you keeping the pattern that you've had? I think that's really like kind of my personal, secret to how I've kept up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. I mean, it just goes back to what you're saying that you found a routine that worked for you. You know, that if you add anything into that routine, that maybe let's check out the calories and make sure it's not going to be like a crazy amount, which I still have to do. I mean, there's some foods I don't know what the calories are when I eat new foods, and we just check to make sure it's not like 800 calories. And then from there, then you like make that decision. Is it going to fit into your new meal pattern? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And then what about protein? So remind me, I don't even know if we really had to work on this with you. Did we have to work on your protein or how did you hit that, do you think?
Yeah, I think we did a little. I pretty much for breakfast, I think I started adding an extra scoop of protein,
Mhm.
and I was able to hit that in the morning. And I believe I had started, we kind of worked it out to where for me, I would have a 10-gram protein snack. And honestly, that works perfect. I don't think I'll ever stop that, because after my smoothie, like 3 or 4 hours later, I'm hungry. And
Mhm.
by that time, I'm usually charting at work, or I'm sitting on the couch going, like, what do we have in the house? And that tells me, okay, Megan, it's time for your snack. So the Kodiak cakes or the Kodiak brownies, I've started making the brownies recently because it's super easy to take to work and eat. So yeah, the protein, I think there was like a little, glitch in the beginning with me, and we quickly fixed that.
Yeah, I actually talked about you in another podcast episode. I can't remember what it was. It might be the protein episode because I've never had a client who says they keep like the little box in their car, right? Just in case. Cause that was like everybody's always like, what can I take that's like portable? And I'm like, oh, you literally only need water to add to the little protein cakes, right? And you would just keep it in your car. That was like the best idea.
Yeah, I love that. And now, so in addition to that is the brownies you can make in the oven, and then you can just package them, take them with you anywhere. And I'm like, this keeps getting better and better.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay. Yeah. Because my nurses are always, or even like my physicians are always wondering what they can take to work during those long days. So I think that's good to know that you can kind of take those with you. And then what about produce? So increasing produce is helpful. So we are eating a lot of fiber. So we're able to stay full on a low amount of calories. What did you do? Or like, what do you do now that's like your secret to getting more produce in?
The smoothie.
The
Yeah, the
smoothie?
smoothie. I'm always revert back to that answer, right? Because that is automatically like 2 servings of vegetables in the morning. Automatic. Like there's not, I don't know of many other meals unless you put like spinach in an omelet where I'm gonna always get a vegetable in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the smoothies are so great for me because I can just add different fruit when I want a different flavor, and I know I'm still hitting my goals. So for me, that pattern was so easy to establish because it's like, okay, so then I can eat a vegetable at lunch, a vegetable at dinner. Well, that's all my requirements for the day. Or if I want more sweetness in the evening, have fruit.
So the smoothie, yeah, a lot of my clients, I never try to push it, but a lot of them come to the conclusion they're like, I've got to have a smoothie in. And I think it just speaks to making like a produce, I call it like produce powered, like a protein or like a produce centric something meal, a meal that has like a lot of produce. Smoothies are really easy. Other things can be like stir fries, but typically people aren't going to use stir fry every single day, or like a salad can be like the equivalent. But smoothies can be fun because you can get protein and it's super easy and it's portable, which is why it seemed like it worked for you. Is that right?
Definitely did. Yeah. And kind of like you mentioned, salads,
Mm.
that is such an easy one for me. Cause I know when I go to Chick-fil-A, I'm getting 2 servings of, in the salad that I get, or when I eat a salad at home, I'm not one of those people who eat a small salad, right? Like I like quantity. So
Uh-huh.
having a salad, I'm like, this is perfect. I can have like 2 cups of salad and it's good for me. And I get to eat all of this.
Exactly. And then finally, exercise. This is really what we worked on in the second round because we kind of touched it in the first round, but depending on how much support people need with nutrition, we don't like always finish the goal, but we did in the second round and you did amazing with it. So give some tips on how you did that or how you even continue to meet your 10,000 step goal and or strength training as well.
I had to do it at least once to know it was possible.
Oh.
I know in the first program I had with you, I was hitting like maybe 6 or 7,000.
Mhm.
And the second time I was like, come on, Megan, like what is stopping you? It was really identifying barriers to me. And
Mm.
honestly, I know a huge one was like getting steps, on my work days. So that's why we really looked at, those 4 off days. Cause after 12 hours, I just don't have a lot of energy to go and do things. I don't want to drive super far. I don't
Mhm.
want to go to the gym and see people. I'm done with people for that time.
Right.
um, Honestly, walking trails have been so great going after work. And my last contract in Roanoke, Virginia, there
Uh-huh.
was literally a walking trail right outside the hospital. And I
Oh.
was like, you have no excuse, Megan. You are going after work and getting it. And it turned into at first like this huge challenge. And once I overcame it, I felt so amazing, like absolutely amazing, just getting it. And after doing it for, I know like at least a few weeks or a month into it, like my body started to feel so amazing. I could suddenly go up all these stairs at work when before, I'd be dying whenever I got to the top, or I could transport a patient to scan and bring them back. And I wasn't like, okay, they're back. I'm back. How was my other patient? It's just so many positives putting in that exercise. But I think it has to be a priority for me, at least. Like it has to be at the forefront of my brain. I have to say, okay, and I still do it. When am I going to put an exercise for today? When am I going to get my steps in? Because I know at work I'm going to get 6 or 7,000, but when am I going to get the other ones? So planning and prioritizing that has really been super successful for me.
When you're planning and prioritizing, does that mean like on Sunday, you're like sitting down and thinking like, okay, you need to do a walk here? Or is it more like every day you are like, just like adamant that it's got to get done and there's like no excuses?
I know on my off days, I can plan ahead. Usually. So I'll be like, okay, so this weekend I have nothing to do. I don't have a test to study for. I'm not working. So why don't we plan to go on a hike? Or why don't we plan to go to see that new park?
Mhm.
But be honest with you, it's really a day by day thing with me.
Mhm.
I wake up in the morning and I'm like, or even the day before, I'm like, okay, I know I have an appointment in the morning, or I know I'm going to work. So if it's work, I'm automatically walking after work. And then that day I'll decide, exactly where we're going to walk for the day. On my days off, it's more, okay, so I have something to do this morning, so I have to do it this evening. So I would say I plan in a few different ways to really just whatever works for me, that day, that week, whatever I have coming up. But it's really, kind of like the same with my nutrition is for the day, saying, okay, I have met this, or this is how I'm going to, put vegetables in this evening. If I don't exercise this morning, if I don't go walking this morning, it has to be this evening. It's
Mm.
kind of like there's no excuse, there's not room for not doing it. It's going to get in. Where am I fitting it in today, right now? I think that's really, I still do it. It's a day by day thing. It's okay, I have the whole day to accomplish it. Where's it going to fit?
So I hear you saying you really had to make a lifestyle change. I know it's like so corny, but like, like it sounds like you just really interwove it into your life and just try to find even ways to enjoy it. Like you said, instead of having to make it this chore, like let's make it a fun thing, like a hike, or let's think about it like a stress relief at the end of the day, at the end of like your really stressful day of work, as more of like a debrief or even like a meditation of us at the end of the day. And I know another thing you said, and when you were working with me that has really stuck with me, and I tell the other clients that it seemed like too, or you actually told me you got to the point where you're like, you realize it can't like wait till tomorrow. Like you're done with thinking through like tomorrow won't, like it'll come and go again. And if you continue to have that attitude of saying like, it'll happen tomorrow, I'll just do it tomorrow. Like weeks and months will go by where it's like, let's just see what you can get done today, seemed like what your method is. Is that like what you feel like your mindset change was?
Yes, it really is. What can I do today? Because I'm going to do it again tomorrow. I got to do it today. So I feel good to do it tomorrow. Yeah.
And then how did that differ from before, do you think? Like what did your mindset used to be about exercise that wasn't working?
I'll get to it later. I'll do it. I'm
Okay,
going to
okay.
be that person one day.
Gotcha.
It was shoving it off to the Megan of tomorrow. And, that Megan didn't want to do it either.
How do you feel like you're able to stick with things now? Because we're not working together anymore. So like what's kind of going on now, or what does sustainability of it look like? Is it such an effort anymore, or are there things you still have to work on, or how do you make it sustainable, do you think?
Like, it's a big difference from when I first started, and I think it needs to be very important, something that you're pretty consistently thinking about when you first start your program.
Mhm.
But now it's honestly a 2-second thought of me counting my vegetables for the day, or saying, did I hit it? Yeah, I hit it. And exercise, I feel so good getting it in every day. It's not a question of if I'm going to get it in the next day. It's like, okay, so what am I going to do at the gym tomorrow? It's that
Mhm.
mindset. Um, Once you put in that effort and that work to making it, an everyday thing, it's like anything else. It's going to get easier and easier.
You have a lot working against you as well, but you are honestly one of my most successful clients. Like you've lost the most weight. It seems so easy, even without you exercising in the beginning. Like when we first started working together, you were able to lose a ton of weight and then lost even more weight you did work in exercise. And then this is despite, which you haven't brought up yet, that you have PCOS and ADHD and are on a medication for that, which a lot of people struggle with that. How do you feel like you were able to even like get through all of that, or was it not even really an issue?
I did. I started taking my ADHD medicine every day versus just when I was at work.
Mhm.
I think that definitely helped me kind of focus more on my days off, and gave me the motivation to go out and do it. I'll be honest, though, I really saw the benefits after going through your program. The symptoms of my PCOS have decreased so much. In total, I've lost 45 pounds now. I stepped on the scale yesterday.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I hit 259, and I was like, I have been waiting for this number for so long. I think nutrition plays a huge role in both of those, in ADHD and PCOS.
Mhm.
A lot of people do struggle with being overweight, and a lot of times with ADHD, we're eating that sugar for that dopamine. We're looking for that excitement. It kind of makes sense why I'm an ICU nurse, but
Yeah.
it's also like that sweetness that I'm able to focus a little more after I eat it. I'm able to get something from it. But honestly, after having a balanced diet, I'm getting that. I'm getting that now. I'm not craving the sugar, but I'm still able to focus at work. Even though I'm taking medicine, it it's still a huge difference for me. It really is. I have so much more energy now. I used to go months without a menstrual cycle, and yeah, like months. I went 9 months one time. Yeah, huge. Yeah, it was not good, but and I was still inconsistent whenever I started this program with you, and I haven't missed a period yet, and that's amazing.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I didn't know that. That makes me so
yeah.
happy for you. Wow, that is awesome. And I feel like again, it just speaks to everything needs to work together. Like we can't just look at like one little problem and think like we need to just attack it with medication, or we need to just attack it with this. Like it really has to be comprehensive. We really need to get the exercise and maybe the medication and also the nutrition and also maybe like decreasing some stress, which is what a professional should be able to point out, that it's not just like existing in this one silo. But that's great that all of that improved kind of like on its own. zone without having to do anything else to stress your body out.
Yes.
And then what advice would you give to like old Megan, like if you're starting from the beginning, or even like anybody out there who's really struggling losing weight, like feels like they're so busy, because we're all really busy, but like with you being, in school and recently married and like also a traveling nurse and ICU nurse at that, like what are maybe like 2 tips you would have for your old self or somebody in that same situation who's trying to lose weight?
The first one, take full advantage of your day
Mm.
and make it so that the person you're going to be tomorrow is benefiting from what you're doing today. The second one, I would say, like, do the program and put
All right.
your all into it.
Yeah.
Like, working hard to help us. So we need to work hard for ourselves in this.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. I'm sure this podcast episode has been really helpful for a lot of people that struggle with the same things that you do. I mean, you definitely don't have like a super easy, like non-stressful life, and you were able to be so successful, if not honestly, one of the most successful clients I've had with weight loss. So I hope you're proud of yourself. And thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you're listening, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're putting our episodes out there, but you can also listen on Apple and on Spotify. But thank you so much today for joining us, Megan.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Isla.
Thank you so much for listening to the Millennial Nutritionist podcast. For daily weight loss tips and nutrition information, you can find us on Instagram at the.millennial.nutritionist and on TikTok at millennial.nutritionist. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend who needs encouragement on their health journey. See you in the next episode.